likes the Vanquish Soul deck. He has basically already said a couple weeks ago, it is almost 90% sure that I will be bringing this deck to the tournament, but there is, first of all, Johannes using the first card here in the standby phase, being Mulcharmy Purulia.
And I want to be honest with you, Purulia, I wasn't expecting so many people to play Purulia in the main deck. However, it has been incredible the whole weekend.
He just passed it over. Zero motions by Joshua, besides a little hand wave over to Johannes. That Purulia either completely shut him down or there were no plays anyways.
Oh, that is Fiendsmith Sancted. There is multiple things to note about this. This is, of course, a decent starter for the Fiendsmith engine. But then again, you can only attack with light Fiend monsters in this turn. So that means the chances of Joshua Schmidt getting another turn here are really, really high. And you can already see it as soon as Joshua Schmidt just nears himself to a featured match table, the entire venue is filled. And there's Fuwalos being activated here.
Step by step, Charmy for Charmy, but there's Called by the Grave on the Fuwalos, and so no draws have been given for the Mulcharmy Purulia for Johannes, but also no draws now for Joshua through the Fuwalos.
I think Mulcharmy was very much to be expected here on the side of Josh.
Yeah, agreed, for sure.
If you're passing to Purulia, it probably means that you have decent amount of non-engine and that you might have Mulcharmys as well, which makes the decision easier.
To be honest, I was not expecting Johannes to activate Cold here since he has Ice Blossom in his hand. So it was a very interesting choice, and I want to understand his thought on this, because maybe he wants to establish a mid-board and then have more defenses like Ash Blossom, I guess, the Vanquish Shell.
Yeah, and also, I mean, Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, technically a card you can normal summon. Maybe you need to do that eventually in case you want to go for some other plays, but there is now Mulcharmy Meowth, and now it makes even more sense that Joshua didn't play any cards on the first turn, as if you, looking at the main deck here, count correctly, 8 Charmies in the main deck for him. That's a crazy high amount, but this one not going to resolve as Johannes still has that Ash Blossom and Joy Spring in his hands.
Meowth also has the advantage of being an Earth monster, even though you're most of the time not lacking Earth as the attribute to reveal this card, of course, still helps there. And also the Mulcharmys, let's be honest, they are going to draw you into more of those cards. Discarding it not before a summon, but before the Necroquip Princess can be summoned. Just so you avoid the Necroquip draw.
I really love how Joshua is still on the zone, meaning that he got Purulia, then passed there with Fuwalos Meowth, and he got Called by the Grave and Ash Blossom, and he's very chill and still on the zone trying to find the best way to...
I think with Joshua, really, we all know him. He's such a likable guy, always open to talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! But when we saw him here step up to the stage, you really recognize how in the zone he is, how much he is destined to deliver this weekend. He wants to be the European champion on top of all the accomplishments he already has. And now we see Sword Ryzeal coming down for Johannes, and that is the Norman Summon, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep, that is still going to be a rather minimalistic combo here, if I'm correct, because the X is not going to be able to search here.
True.
That's a little bit of a problem with Sang, to be honest. You're playing less breaks, so you're not playing Tracked with Lurry there, you're not playing into Droll and Lockbird with those cards, but still it forces you to activate it when you have nothing on the field, so you kind of disturb your Ryzeal engine a little bit.
You're saying minimalistic combo, but I see
sure
everything going
it's not
for Johannes right now.
I'm not sure if it's going to be a massive Ryzeal endboard here, but you can definitely go Habakiwi. That's going to help.
Certainly, and Joshua, just with 3 cards in hand, we know the Vanquish Soul strategy is good when it can profit off of a lot of cards, but it can chain 2 things and so on and so forth in the hand. But the lower the amount of cards in hand gets, the tougher it also gets for the deck to really get rolling.
Basti, how many Ryzeal cards can we see in Johannes' deck? Is he playing Node?
Let me check. There is absolutely no Node Ryzeal in his deck. It's a really small package. It's called Mitsurugi Ryzeal, but it's really not that many Ryzeal cards in there. There's only 1 Sword Ryzeal, only 1 Ice Ryzeal as well. So it's really just the 4 Ryzeal main deck monsters, with of course the 2 X Ryzeals being the best ones out of them.
It's exactly enough that if you start with Ice Ryzeal, you can special summon out Detonator and the King of the Fair Limbs.
Oh yes, and that's
And
what
to
we
be
did
honest,
with it.
having Fiendsmith also in his deck is probably the reason that he doesn't have much space about more Ryzeal cards.
Yeah, absolutely. Johannes has basically been playing a very, very similar deck to this already at the German National Championship. And he's an expert in throwing out big names out of the tournament, because there, also on featured match, I can tell you, he threw out Dinka Bui out of Top Cut. So is this another big name falling to Johannes?
And I've seen a very, very similar list, but he plays one card differently to that list, and that is the Night Sword Serpent, and this card can become so super relevant. But we're sending Aramasa to the graveyard here.
Indeed, and also Kusanagi. Kusanagi immediately going to get the ritual back into the hand. Serpent still in deck, as we just saw there. Him browsing through it. Also another tendency lately with this deck. And I think Johannes was an innovator on that as well. Playing triple Mitsurugi Ritual in this super big pile out of free engines. Still valuing that card highly enough that you want to include the full amount of it.
Yep, if you're playing a big Mitsurugi engine, it helps you just play through hand traps and other interactions. Now you're going to see what makes this deck so strong. You get so many pluses off of summoning Habakiri. Now you get even more out of tributing it for Murakumo. Sometimes you can even do that before the first search. So if the dual lockbit would be activated, you have prayer set up, you have Murakumo, and you get to even discard another card from your opponent's hand.
Magatama in the main deck as well. That is one that I did not see coming, I gotta admit. Interesting to me.
And I mean, at this point, I have to say that it's not so much a minimalistic field, to be honest, as we was expecting earlier. However, Josh, we have to remember that he got Purulia, so he still has a lot of cards in his hand, and probably only engine in order to play, I guess, this field that Johannes has established.
Yeah, this field just looks like almost full combo, which is fine. And now Josh is going to normal summon the Ryzeal. It's not going to give him a draw. Magatama chained immediately here, which might mean that we don't even have a way to tribute our Murakumo in the future. Ooh. Are we considering a heavy border? I mean, there's still a Caesar on there. Ryzeal gets destroyed, but gets to resolve. Quite curious to see what is going to be searched there.
Probably Su, I suppose. I mean, it's the logical assumption.
But I mean, Holy Su just doesn't really do a lot versus wave hiking Caesar. The Caesar is pretty strong against
Vanquish.
Vanquish Soul, yeah. And I mean, Johannes didn't even get to go first, but Purulia just ended the turn of Josh. I mean, he had the Ryzeal in hand. Maybe he didn't have the Ryzeal in hand. Maybe this was his 6th draw. Because I think if you're just going to normal summon Ryzeal, search a follow-up like Holisu or Jiaolong for the next turn, and you go into a Rock Vanquisher, then you're fine, right?
He had 2 Malcharmis though. So
yeah,
probably
true.
He got Purulia and then passed with Meowth.
Okay, guys, let's quickly bring it over to us here in the commentary area again, because
alrighty, then we still see Jiaolong in hand, so we pick up exactly where we left off. Jiaolong added to hand from Ryzeal effect. Ryzeal was destroyed by Magatama. We're about to witness Habakiri effect, probably.
Does look like it. And we shall continue.
Or we shall continue, question mark, just like
there
the
we go.
Vexel.
Looks like Jiaolong there.
All right, so we are... I mean, we added to the hand, right? Because we haven't revealed anything yet.
Yes.
Now, Johannes, remember that you have Habakiri. Of course, a player like Johannes Bauer does not forget those effects.
No. He has also a clear vision. Maybe going to the World Championship this year. Every person now remaining of the tournament is in a decent spot. I mean, 32. How many more matches do you have to win? 32, 16, 8. 3 more matches. That's... I want to say almost easier than winning on the points playoff on Friday. There you had to win like 4 matches, but now it's only 3 matches that you have to win.
I mean, given that they have already won about 11.
They won 11 matches, yeah.
11 is the German word for 11. I don't know what came back there. But, oh, Holy Su is activated. Jiaolong is activated. Caesar is empty now. Josh picks up the cards. Johannes Bauer wins game 1. We jumped back in time and we have basically missed that matchup jumped in front of the time. Joshua is now going to be able to start again. Is there going to be a Mulcharmy Perulia again for Johannes? I don't know. He's hovering over his cards. No, Pot of Extravagance is a really nice start. It's something that you kind of need to Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, because otherwise this deck is immediately running away with card value.
And to be honest, it's a very good check for both Perulia and Fugalos, since Johannes probably, if he has Fugalos or Perulia, would change it to Extravagance in order for Josh not to find an out, Ash Blossom, cross out, or Call by the Grave.
Totally agree. I talked a little bit with Lorenzo Muselli about that Pot of Extravagance, and he just said consistency is a little bit of an issue for this deck, but also this card now makes Droll and Lockbird a lot better, actually. But there's triple Technic Talents. Let's have a look, says Josh. And that hand is offering prayers and pre-preparation of rites. If we have something like Ash Blossom, just taking out one of them and stopping the other seems pretty appropriate. But do we have? Because both cards on their own can do so much.
If you have Droll and Lockbird, you definitely take away the prayers, because pre-preparation of rites just plays heavily into it. I think otherwise you take away the pre-preparation of rites because it just adds extra value. Alright, so I'm guessing no Droll and Lockbird here. Card has a useless attribute for Vanquish Soul anyway, so maybe we don't even play it. But now Joshua Schmidt, the deck doesn't have too many problems with Droll and Lockbird as long as you can get a Rock the Vanquisher onto the field. The deck can just play on your turn.
I love how Josh kept on staring at those free cards, trying to remember them as best as possible, trying to adjust his game plan for this very moment. And again, only 2 set cards. Both games so far, Joshua, very, very little that he can do. But now back to Johannes. Is that a draw phase, Mitsurugi Prayers angle? It is a lightning storm off the top! Going after those 2 set cards. Shaning shared right to it though.
So
that's cool.
We have talked a lot about Mistaken Arrest being cards in the meta. However, Share Right is a very good option for Vanquish Soul in order to gain advantage instead of a Mistaken Arrest, for example, that would also stop them from gaining any more value.
Why wasn't Prayers chained to the Shatrite?
I was also wondering that. Then a little T-set after from Johannes. That is funny to see. That is such a 2009 thing to do, I want to say. But we are here in 2025, and that is the technology that Johannes has chosen here.
Oh, so you believe that Joshua plays around Rico right now, right?
I hope so. I hope so.
I think Joshua Schmidt is just having the most unplayable hand I have ever witnessed in my entire life. And now, Johannes, this looks like a pass. I think this is end phase. Mitsurugi Prayers for Johannes Bauer. It looks like Joshua Schmidt is not able to play at all. And now it is just on Johannes to try and finish this game against a world champion. Against a world champion runner-up and a 3rd place in the TCG division as well.
Indeed, so many big accomplishments on the side of Joshua, but all of those, of course, in some of those moments don't help you, because Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a game that is played in the very moment. You have to draw the right cards and you have to make the right moves at the right time. And at the moment, Joshua doesn't get any of those moves going, and now the normal summon of Aramasa for Johannes.
I think the hand that Josh had was 3 times the same copy of Droll and Lockbird. This card, of course, stops you a little bit.
I mean, imagine drawing a 6th card for 10-3 and also 2 cards from Extravagance and still to not see any play in your deck.
I was also quite curious to see why Johannes didn't tribute the Serpent. Or is that, oh wait, if it's cost, then it doesn't return. That makes a lot of sense. Never mind me.
And we do go ahead, activate. It looks like Habakiri was just activated the pendulum scale, but that's just Johannes' way of signalizing that we are activating and resolving the effect. The card, of course, still in the hand where it is now again. Activates the effect of Kusanagi and also the effect of Serpent. So that's 3 level 4 monsters even on the field now. It's looking pretty for Johannes.
Yep, and now we are under Droll and Lockbird, but this deck has a technology against that, and you can just go into the Fiendsmith engine. You don't play too many of those cards in the main deck. You play 3 Fiendsmith cards, but they are enough to cause some serious kerfuffle.
We go into Moon of the Closed Tavern, and Even though there's not that many Fiendsmith cards in the main deck, it is complemented very well by a huge amount of Fiendsmith cards in the extra deck. Essentially the full package. He's even playing Agnum Day and Desiree. He really is leaning in on those Fiendsmith cards, and he really wants to have the full toolbox from those available in his extra deck.
And I mean, in this simplified game state, that you know that your opponent is desperate for a top deck, Fiendsmith is the right time in order to pop off and give you a constant grind and coming back to life all the time.
Ooh, hold on though. Maybe some hope with Bestial Magnamut on the Fiendsmith Engraver. That can hurt a lot. Activates the Bestial Magnamut because technically we could add something from the graveyard. Currently there is nothing in there though, but maybe somehow until the end of the turn there could be something going into the graveyard.
Maybe someone summons Zombie Vampire.
Huh? You never know, right?
But now what can Johannes do? Because the 2,500 attack points here actually pose a big threat. Goes into the SP. Little Knight considers it at least, because Necroprincess, of course, is a fusion monster. You're going to be able to banish the Magnamut. I mean, he's only actually playing one Fiendsmith Engraver, if I'm not mistaken. So this Magnamut was so good.
Josh gets another chance. Is this the top deck he needs? Is this Ryzeal when you need it the very most? Maybe Stake Your Soul or something similar? Can we finally get our Vanquish Soul cards rolling?
Just needs something to play with. Joshua Schmidt is in dire need of a starter to his Vanquish Soul strategy. He said it before, he really likes the deck. Now, does the deck like him in the moment? Dr. Madlove being normal summoned. I think that's a very reasonable chain SP Little Knight angle if you don't want to respond directly to it with another card.
For sure, I do agree. You want to make sure that you get those cards off of the table. And yes, SP Little Knight, for the very moment, transfers both of these monsters into the banishment.
You have Vanquish Soul start now, but this card doesn't start the Vanquish Soul engine on its own because you need another monster on the field, like Dr. Madlove, and you don't have that anymore. So SP Little Knight, very well used there by Johannes.
The name almost feels like false advertisement, right? Because it really isn't a start, but it's just good if you combine it with something else. But now no attributes on the field anymore to be used with it, so we can make no use out of it. There comes a Vanquish Soul. Of course, we can still use the effect to set something in the end phase, which I think...
Only if we have two Vanquish Soul monsters.
You're so right.
Wait. Or if there's two monsters.
Yeah, it needs to.
But also, what is the Snow Devil doing here? It's also not really helping too much. Mitsurugi Prayers is activated. Habakiri is tributed in the end phase. That is so many searches. This is going to summon out another monster that searches or adds back something. You could go Kusanagi, add back the Prayers. This is just everything for Johannes.
It really is, and Johannes now, you can really tell by his motions, he's looking more and more confident, still in the zone, but recognizing and realizing maybe that this might be another moment where he gets to knock out one of the biggest names in all of Europe out of a big tournament.
And to be honest, at the current game state, as I understand, Johannes has not any more of the Fiendsmith engine, since probably he doesn't have Lacrima in his deck, and Engraver is banished.
I think that was a really funnily used Droll and Lockbird there, yes. We prevented the Aramasa surge there essentially, so that Droll and Lockbird
and Habakiri
worked like a... Oh yeah, true, both of them actually, yeah, that was pretty nice.
I think that's a sign that says that I saw it right earlier. This might be a triple Droll and Lockbird hand for Joshua Schmidt right there. That is not something you can really play with. Saji is now being normal summoned. You can add with Saji, gets the Mitsurugi Ritual, or maybe something else. Maybe goes for Prayers. Of course, you haven't used it yet. You can just tribute something and then add another time for Aramasa and then special summon out the Kusanagi from the graveyard. You can just do whatever you want right now.
Indeed, true. Joshua not looking super happy with the situation right now, and I mean, we all understand why, because Johannes clearly in the driver's seat right now. It was top 32 at the French National Championship that Joshua attended, where he got knocked out. Is it going to be top 32 again here also at the European Championship? The last and remaining Droll and Lockbird, empty-handed now, Joshua, but at least Johannes also prohibited from searching further cards.
And I mean, right now, Johannes has full knowledge about Josh Fields and hand, so I think it's pretty much it.
Yeah, you can see the entire hand. It's just his hand. There is no cards in the hand whatsoever. There is a Madlove on the field that can't even be protected by Vanquish Soul Start because there is nothing in hand. And even if Joshua Schmidt gets to top deck something, if he gets another turn, the Vanquish Soul cards, they need a certain form of card advantage. They work the best when you have multiple cards in hand already.
But still, you see Joshua smiling there. I think Johannes and Joshua are quite friendly with each other, so I think Joshua will also be happy for Johannes if he can maybe, because he is lacking that big tournament run. You have said it. He has topped a decent amount of tournaments here in Germany at the very least, but he did not have this breakout run just yet.
Yeah.
And then that breakout run being maybe his qualification to the World Championship, that would be indeed the breakout then.
Maybe Joshua Schmidt also just remembered that he is in fact going to the World Championship as part of Team Night Panthers again and was like, hey, I'm going with my friend. That's cool.
That is pretty alright indeed.
So Johannes changed press into the effect of draw to add Ameno in his hand.
At this point, you also, especially if it's still 22 minutes on the clock, you want to make sure that every motion you're doing is correct. Just don't take too much time here. I would have also, I could have enjoyed a early duo drive and no effect of Saji to play around the third droll and Lockbird, but who plays around the third droll and Lockbird?
That is something you definitely don't do very often.
We just go duo drive regardless here, as it seems.
I mean, gets our monsters a little bit bigger, right? That's pretty cool. Oh look, we go into the battle phase.
All right.
Attack over the Dr. Madlove, and I mean, Joshua is on so little cards. So it feels like this may very well be enough anyhow. And
as we discussed yesterday, if Vanquish doesn't have a lot of reviews to reveal in the hand, are kinda in a very bad spot, to be honest.
And that is the handshake! Johannes Bauer defeats Joshua Schmidt, and there